So Aaron Rodgers, the video's out this morning. He's in the Jets facility. It's pretty cool. It's going to be at least 9 great months. A lot of smiles. The owners, Robert Saleh, the GM. It's an exciting time. Now, Richard Sherman still does not like the way Green Bay handled it, even though it was going to end pretty soon anyway. Richard Sherman, former NFL great, podcaster at The Volume, said this.
I don't think Jordan Love is quarterback of the future, Green Bay. You had a great quarterback for 30 years. Good job. Welcome to mediocrity. I guarantee you every NFC North team is excited to see Jordan Love. Ecstatic. Nobody will fear you going forward. Understand that. There is not a game somebody's going to see the Green Bay Packers in without Aaron Rodgers in the jersey and have fear for you.
That's true. But it was going to end very quickly anyway. Aaron's words. I was 90% out of the darkness retreat going to retire. So Green Bay said, we can get a couple of great draft picks. They did. Or Aaron retires and we get none. We're pretty good at the draft and development thing. Let's get some draft picks. It's going to end anyway. What's the old saying? Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. We're just going to end it a year early. We could get nothing. Let's get something. And something really good. A first-round pick maybe, a couple of second-round picks. Outside of John Elway with the Broncos and maybe Derek Jeter with the Yankees. Anything that's ever been great for a long time in sports almost never ends gracefully. Michael Jordan and the Bulls ended with animosity. Brady and Belichick's dynasty ended with animosity. Kobe, Shaq, Phil Jackson ended with animosity. Favre in Green Bay, Dan Marino in Miami ended with turbulence. I mean, all Laker fans will tell you, Jerry West, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, all of those end bumpy in L.A. All of them. Even Jerry West. He was Mr. Laker. So that's the way it ends. Even the Beatles ended with turbulence, ugly, animosity. Maybe it's men needing control, needing leverage, a pat on the back. But I look at the Jets and I'm like, hey, it's not going to last very long. This is a 1 or a 2 year deal. A lot of smiles. Can't wait to watch it. But this stuff always ends poorly. Green Bay simply said, listen, we can get greedy here and try to squeeze every ounce of juice out of this thing with Aaron Rodgers. Or we can get a couple of great picks, give this kid we moved up to get a couple of years ago, give him a fighting chance. We'll know by Thanksgiving if he can play. He's been in the building 3 years. Our guess is he can play. We're not exactly sure. We don't think he's Mahomes. He's not Zach Wilson. But the reality is, a little bit like all commodities, you want to get greedy and get every last ounce out of it. Yeah, the Bulls could have brought everybody back for one more run. But they were old. They were wearing on each other. The GM didn't like the star. The star didn't like the owner and the GM. So the Packers got about as much as you can get out of 2 quarterbacks, Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Both times they moved off in the end, and they've been fine. And my guess is they'll probably be a little less than fine going forward, but I get it. It was ending anyway. Okay, so now officially, the Carolina Panthers have the number 1 pick, and there is a consensus in the building. And the Will Levis rumors continue. But here's the thing. Everybody in the building now, and the betting markets have moved toward Bryce Young. But here's the thing I was thinking about this morning. So Frank Reich, a former NFL quarterback, he's really, really good at doing something. He's really good at taking a big, strong quarterback who's got a little bit of a wild side and polishing him up. Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, and Carson Wentz. All 3 big, strong guys. 2 can move really well, and they all had a wild streak. So if you look at Andrew Luck, his year with Frank Reich, he completed 67% of his throws and a passer rating of almost 99. Andrew Luck, if you take out that year, completed about 60% of his throws. So look at Andrew Luck. I'm showing the TV audience now with and without Frank Reich. Completion percentage, passer rating, significantly better. All right, let's take Phillip Rivers. That 1 year with Frank Reich, again, he's got a wild side. Charger fans would tell you that with Phillip Rivers. He had 11 picks. If you look at Phillip Rivers' career, he averaged over 14 picks. So it was a very old Phillip Rivers that wasn't athletic, but he cleaned Phillip Rivers up. And then you look at Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, the year before Frank Reich had him, had 15 picks. Frank Reich cut it in half, down to 7 picks. So if you look at what Frank Reich's history is, give me a big, strong quarterback who's got a wild side, and I'll polish him up. And that's why the Will Levis rumors from a Reddit board are interesting. That's exactly what Will Levis is. That's exactly what he is. Smart, big, athletic, with a wild side. And remember, Frank Reich looks at a Bryce Young and says, I can't make him bigger and stronger. He's already polished. I can't make him any bigger and stronger. And that's why there were rumors early on Anthony Richardson with the number 1 pick. That's what Frank does. He refines it, cleans it up, polishes. But I think a lot of people, the ones I've talked to, just think Anthony Richardson he's got so far to go. Will Levis doesn't have that far to go. So, I don't go to Reddit boards. I had to ask the staff about Reddit boards this morning. They told me Reddit boards are about as accurate as responses on Twitter. And that's why I don't go to Reddit boards. They're message boards. I got no interest. But that doesn't mean occasionally somebody doesn't have a gem on Bitcoin or a celebrity divorce or somebody knows somebody, and apparently Will Levis has told people, somebody in his family tells somebody on a Reddit board, I'm going number 1. I get the rumor. I absolutely get the rumor because Frank Reich is a teacher and a mentor. There's nothing he can do with Bryce Young's size. I mean, Tua is small. Bryce Young is smaller. And Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson were a little undersized, but they're thick. Bryce Young's slender. I mean, when you watch this video right now, this is college football. He looks tiny. There's nothing Frank Reich can do. He can't do anything with that. So I think Bryce Young is the best college quarterback and the best high school quarterback over the last 6 years of video I have seen, high school and college. He's ready to play. But even I, as a fan, have said, I don't think he lasts 10 years. I don't think he lasts 8. I think you're looking at a guy that stabilizes Carolina, accurate, smart, moves well, sees the field, and that bad division can win games immediately. That's what I see. But Frank Reich, there's just certain things he can't do with Bryce Young, and I think he looks at that arm with Will Levis and that size with Will Levis and that athleticism with Will Levis, and I bet they've had real arguments in the room about it. Here's Frank Reich yesterday talking about the conversation he had this week with GM Scott Fitter.
He actually came in my office yesterday at some point and asked the question. It's kind of like a proposal of sorts, But and I said yes. No, there is consensus, and we're excited. I wouldn't say there's any drastic change of mind, but there's ebbs and flows of how much you like a guy. And that's why you have to resist the temptation to make your mind up too early. Take it day by day. Go on these visits, watch tape, go through the process, continue to evaluate and talk it through.
So I would take Bryce Young. J-Mac, who would you take? I do believe there is an argument. I said this. If you squint hard enough, you can see a little bit of Andrew Luck with Will Levis. I get Jim Irsay seeing it. I get Frank Reich seeing it. Like, I get you look and you're like, smart, big arm, mobile, didn't win a ton of games in college, but wasn't surrounded by a lot of NFL guys. That's an Andrew Luck story too.